Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Woohoo! It is a lot of fun to be here. I've been sitting in the back, kind of on the end of the aisle. So many of you stopping me, asking questions. I'd really like to get to know you. But hey, if we have a vision to dominate the financial service business on planet Earth, we have a lot of work to do. As great as this crowd is, as great as the spirit is, there are some things that we're going to have to downshift and we're going to have to work on to make that happen. So can I talk to you directly and tell you what I think it's going to take? Is that okay? Okay, so the very first thing you have to have in order to be successful is you have got to align yourself with people who share your vision, your principles, and your values. And let me tell you something, God has a lot to do with this. You have to be able to put out there what it is that you want. And when you can align with the like-minded people, like we have found with the strategic partnership with Experior, Global View US, Global View in Canada, and also OneVest, hey, we've really got some magic things happening. 2 years ago, this month, Jamie Prickett flew into Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that's where I'm from, and we sat there for 2 days and we brainstormed about what it would really take to bring a securities and an investment management division on both the US and the Canadian side. And after 2 days, we walked out. Never forget, it was right at the elevator, and he said to me, he said, Dina, we're going to do this. And we shook hands, and from that moment forward, I shifted gears and said, whatever we need to do to help to develop the resources to help your people succeed, I'm all in. I'm going to help that. I'm going to make that happen. So that was divine. We were introduced by Steve and Terry Cooper. You guys can stand up, say hi. Without them, this would not be possible for us to be standing here today. 1 year ago, I was on this stage, and we talked about opening the investment management program in the US, and we did that, and we talked about wanting to do it in Canada. We went back. Jeff Wooley, who's the president of Global View here in Canada, we downshifted. We've been meeting every week strategically for over a year. We've had trips back and forth. And now what we think we have found is the ability to launch officially today the investment management program for you here in Canada. So that's what I'm excited to tell you about. It's a cross-border opportunity. And we have a whole bunch of flyers in the back, and you can look at this later because I don't have time to go through all of the details. But what you have to have is a vision. You know, we talk about building a global company. The first thing you have to do is figure out how you're going to do business cross-border. Am I right? Say right. And without doing it cross-border, without having people who have that vision and that expertise to cross along those lines and find ways for us to be able to build and recruit and override businesses across this North American continent, we'll never be able to do it in the rest of the world. So this is a really great experiment for us to be able to do it. So if you are a Canadian citizen, this is what I want you to pay attention to closely. And if you are a Canadian citizen and you want to build in the United States, you already know a little bit about our program. So Jeff, with that, I'm going to let you tell the quick story, because here's the second thing you got to have, and then I'll let you go.
Yep.
You have to differentiate yourself. If we're going to go out and change financial services, that means we're going to have to change financial services, not just do the same thing over and over and over again that everybody else on the street out here in Toronto does. We have to put in your toolbox something that nobody else has. And that differentiation means it's got to be new, it's got to be cutting edge, it's got to be something that you've never seen before. So when he talks, I want you to understand it may be something you've never seen before, but that's okay, because that's what makes it new. When Jarek was up here and he was showing the pictures of everybody on the Success magazine, and he had a picture of Jeff Bezos, from Amazon, I remember years ago listening to an interview by him. And you know what he said? He said, entrepreneur, here's the best definition of an entrepreneur I had ever heard. He said, an entrepreneur doesn't see the world the way it is. A true entrepreneur sees the world you want it to become. So when you would listen to him talk, he was talking about this online bookstore and, all of this retail business. And the people who were interviewing him were looking at him like, what are you, crazy? And you could see he wasn't looking at what is in front of him. He was looking at what he wanted to build. And if God put that vision in your heart and you feel it after the 3 days here, then this is the company. And I want to tell you, you are my kind of people, and I want to help you to succeed. So with that, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Dina. A lot of who we are, obviously we can change, but a lot of who we are really comes down to our experiences, and that shapes us. And for me, I started in the financial services industry. I got in the year 2000. And being an investment guy starting in the year 2000, I don't know how many of you did that, but that's not a good thing. Or at least it's a good thing to teach you something, maybe not a fun experience to have as the dot-com bubble bursts right as you're starting. I remember one of my very first clients taking to my branch manager, here's what I want to do for my client, and he's like, nah, that's not good enough. It was a plus 60% return. And he's like, no, we can do better, right? It's a very different mentality if you come out of that kind of period of time. I'll get to that in a second, but what's on the screen right now that you should be able to see is, we've been soft launched for a little bit of while now. There's been a lot of marketing material that you guys have been asking for, ways to be able to tell the story, and a lot of that now exists. 5 of the pieces that you're looking at right now are sitting on our table. I know a bunch of you have been grabbing them. One of them is this piece here. That's not where they are. They're up front. This piece here that really tells the tactical asset allocation, the discretionary investment management program. And really, it was built, I know you all are going to say this, there's a lot of words on that. That's on purpose. It was built paint by numbers. It was built that you could just look it, read it, it tells a story, and that you could A, understand it yourself, but B, you could turn around to your clients, and even if you aren't that smart like me, they can read it, and then they'll know what is going on. If we look at, this is really probably the most important slide that I'm going to have up today, even though it is probably the least sexy looking. If you want to understand the type of program that we're talking about, a discretionary investment management, a tactical asset allocation program, you need to understand these 3 things. And there's basically 2 broad types of investment management styles. There's 2 broad types of asset allocation strategies. And there's 2 maybe kind of broad ways that financial advisors or financial agents position themselves in front of their client. You can either be non-discretionary or discretionary. The 10-second answer is non-discretionary means anytime a change needs to happen, client has to authorize it, you have to submit some sort of documentation. Discretionary means the client has agreed in advance, and as long as you stay within the guide rails, the portfolio manager can make the necessary changes as need be. A buy and hold could be passive, it could be active, but the point is you're buying something and kind of holding it long term. Active or tactical is going to mean what do you do when the world changes? My hope is you change. And yet most buy and hold doesn't give you that opportunity. On how you see yourself as an investment advisor, do your clients see you as the portfolio manager? Do the clients see you as the investment specialist? Or are you the advice person? Are you doing the financial planning, the insurance work? Are you on your own building a business and allowing your team to do that as well? If you can understand the difference between these 3 categories here, you will understand what this program or what this platform really is. I'm not going to spend time on here, mostly because we don't have a lot of it. But if you look at a couple pieces inside here, I talked about already. Stage 1 investing is how most Canadians and Americans learn to invest. This is your individual mutual funds, prospectus-based, or just investment funds, if you will. It is mostly all buy and hold. It's non-discretionary. And if you look at what happened, this is coming back to my story at the beginning. If you started investing or you were taught by people from the 80s and 90s, there was this view that things only went up. But guess what? They don't always just go up. In 2000, this thing, the S&P 500's down 47%. And it takes 74 months before it gets back to even. Now, I lived that. I don't know how many of you were licensed that period. I know how my clients felt. I see a hand over here. I know how I felt. That shaped wanting to build something better, something different. So enter here stage 2 investing. And if you look at stage 2 investing really is a brainchild of fund companies that realize, hey, that experience wasn't great. And how do we do something different? And that's when you started seeing all these fund-to-fund products, these portfolios come out that really, once again, are just more buy and hold, more non-discretionary, but let's put it in a package and call it something fresh. Okay? But the reality is, what was clients' experience in the global financial crisis? These balanced fund-to-funds are still down 30 to 40%. That doesn't still sound like a great experience or a great plan, if you will. And so really when you look at, just 10 seconds on this, why it doesn't work is it was meant to diversify, but when you have black swan events or major crises, everything's down. There is nowhere to hide. I could have 8 things, but if I have 8 things down 50%, that doesn't really help me. Okay, and so it's diversification is limiting on its own. So just kind of real fast here. If you look at this one on the left, and let's pretend everyone's an asset class. Which one is always at the top? The answer is none. And so buy and hold says let's just buy all of them because at least this year one of them will be up top. Okay, once again, that doesn't compute in my head. Okay, when you look at tactical asset allocation, that's more on the right. That says, yeah, I maybe have started with 20% and 20%, let's say, between Canadian and US equity, but what if Canada's a lot stronger than the US? Would it not make sense that I have the ability to maybe rotate 30-10? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, but can you do that with your traditional buy and hold non-discretionary products? Say no.
No.
Okay, that's the point of this program. You with me? Okay, Dina, let's just skip over that. I mean, I guess you could talk about just quickly that's the tactical asset allocation. The other part of it is defense. Just real short, real fast. There's a time to play offense and a time to play defense. And when you're in traditional stuff, you don't have the ability to play defense. And defense does matter. I'm going to pull up something here in a second that is really the S&P 500 for the last 25 years. The bottom row, the bottom line chart is just the pure S&P 500 if you bought the index, the ETF, whatever you might buy there. Those red triangles and those green triangles are when there might have been a signal to say, hey, maybe play defense now. Okay, now it's cool, let's play offense again. Maybe let's play defense. Maybe now let's play offense again. And those signals come from Advisor Guide, which is a research firm that Global View Capital owns. Those are live signals going all the way back to 1999. And that top graph is really just those signals applied to the S&P 500. Does that make sense? Okay.
Say yes.
Okay.
Kinda.
Dina, go.
Okay, so, I went through 2002, and all I had was just basically like a mutual fund license and a securities license, rode the roller coaster, it was terrible. And in 2003, at that time, I was a senior vice chairman for World Financial Group. And those of you that don't know me, I was a co-founder of World Financial Group when it was still World Marketing Alliance, Alexander Inc. with like Hubert Humphrey in the early days. I was there in those early days when we built that company. And we needed to be able to provide a way to give defense to clients. All we had was mutual fund licenses, variable products, riding that roller coaster. I became a client of Advisor Guide, which is now the firm that we've acquired a controlling interest in. They now track 18,000 securities, both here in Canada and in the United States. And those 18,000 securities, we run an algorithm through. And then what we do is we take all of your client accounts and we re-register them up on a technology platform. Up here, it's called OneVest. And what that basically means is we have model trading technology. So if we need to go defense, you don't have to call the client and have the conversation and do all the things that you normally have to do as a rep. What we really do is we press the button and we can, with discretion, we can trade across all of those models, and all accounts get the same price, same best execution all the way around. This is how, you guys, we can scale. This is how you grow. And without that technology, which, active management's up here in Canada, but your minimum account sizes are $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. I know why. Because they don't have the technology. I've been building that technology in the United States for years. Up here, we don't have the technology from Global View. It's with OneVest. So we now have all of these really cool models that we can offer you. Now, what does it mean to you in terms of your income? We have some income examples in the back, but let's just take this really quick. So when you go out and you put a new account on, and the average account that we have in the United States is 108,000, so we're going to use 100,000 here. If you do 3 new accounts every single month, just you by yourself, and we grow the portfolios at the rate of 8%, by the 5th year, that will earn you, if you are an executive director, $126,000 a year. And by the way, when you wake up after year 5, you got another 126,000 coming in, plus the new money that you're going to add, plus the 8% compounded growth. You all know the rule of 72, right? Am I right? Compounding interest, yeah, it's a slow start in the beginning. Oh, I gotta learn some new stuff, and there's new paperwork, and this is uncomfortable for me. Well, learn something new, right? Learn something new, because once you learn it, you can do it, and if you can do it, you can lead. And that's what it takes to be, to really go out there and dominate. However, if you really want to put it on steroids for you builders out there, if you just in your base shop have 3 people doing the same thing, by the 5th year, that's another 126 grand a year. That's $250,000 a year. Now you tell me where people like us can go, whether it's in the United States or in Canada, after 5 years, put your head down for something as simple and basic as that you can make $250,000 a year. Does anybody know? Because if you do, I want you to tell me where that kind of opportunity exists. Bar none. There's nothing like it, because this is recurring revenue. We pay you on a monthly basis. We extract the fees out of the client's account. We run it through your grid. One of the things that Jamie wanted to make sure is that we run all the dollars through the grid that you guys recognize, so there's no different. A dollar just comes in and away you go. Jeff, let's get to the call to action. Are you guys still with me? Are you okay? I know it's getting... Okay, you're all right. Your butt's all right. You don't have to fluff the pillow a little bit, right, to get over. Okay, let's do a call to action. Are you with me? Okay. Do you want to know how to supercharge this sucker? You really want to know? Just ask me how. Okay. Number 1, you realize that leadership starts with you. You have to become the first client. We did this in the US. It was simple in the beginning, and we launched in over 4 years over $5 billion of assets under management with just that one simple principle. You, yourself, and I become the first client. Why is that important? Because when you're going to do something new, you're going to do it differently than if you're just going to learn something and try to go sell it to somebody else. When you're a client, the perspective now is I'm the client. I have to ask those tough questions. I got to know how this stuff works. And when you do that, what you're doing ultimately is you are selling yourself. And once you sell yourself, you can now turn to the next person and the next person and the next person, tell the active management story, and they will follow. Does that make sense? That's what he said today, right? He said, learn it, live it, give it. So become that client, lead by example. And by the way, if you lead by example, you will earn the right to lead other people. So what you do is you start out with those dollars and you just continue to compound them, and away you go. Learn the active management story. The brochures are here.
Yep.
We have the brochures for you. They're all available. Get appointed with Experior. Here's the best part. All you have to do is get appointed at the head office at Experior if you're Canadian, and in 7 to 10 days, as long as you don't have something in your background. If you only have an insurance license, you can do this program. That is amazing. You cannot do that in the U.S. You cannot do that in the U.S. Who do you want to? Is Albert in the room? Albert Ramsey. Is Albert Ramsey in the room? If you're in the room, can you please stand? This is the very first Canadian who's taken a Series 65 exam in the United States, who now can come down into the United States, have U.S. clients, and can recruit and build down there and overrun. He's the first guy. We have to remember that that's what leadership is. Somebody's got to step out and do it first. So with that, we'll be back at the booth. Jack Peters is here. Barry Arnold, our Chief Investment Officer, is the guy who makes the magic happen. And of course, Jeff is here to train you guys and help you with everything you need. Love you.